Okay, I will take about 10-15 minutes for this first session. The session is on need and role of trust service providers in uh, the cross-border interactions. This session was supposed to be from my colleague, but due to some personal exigency, he is not able to participate. But we both share this common subject, so I thought I will fulfill for him. So this is a very important aspect happening around the world. So across the globe, what we are seeing when we travel, everywhere the thinking is evolving, the digital ecosystem is evolving, and the trust services are becoming a very key component. So this is becoming a very key component in a paperless revolution across the world. So this is the flow. First, we'll go through what is the transition from paper to paperless trade. Then what are the different bilateral initiatives are there? What is the statistics primarily on Asia Pacific? How this region is and how India is doing. So India success story. Because today, where travel across the world, they have high regard for India in the digital signature implementation because it's a volume at a big scale. And with all the legal authenticity, the qualified signatures coming here, so everything is secure and it's amounting to least number of fraud. The fraud ratio is very least when you talk about India anywhere in the world. Of trust service providers because that is the core backbone. In India, it is ably enabled by the regulators in a very uniform framework. So we'll go through that and what is the future of trust service. So facilitating paperless trade. So this is a key thing. So the journey, if you see the unilateral model law started with this, so inter-country paperless mechanism way back in 97 and then in 2000. So there are many amendments happening. But this has been the continuous work and this is what has made most of the countries adopt TKR. So if you see the cross-border trade, which is a phenomenal activity across the globe, that is, when I say cross-border trade, it is inter-country import-export mechanism, right? So this is one of the key digital transaction implementation around the world, ably supported by United Nations. There is a UNCPAC working group which enables this entire mechanism. So there are multiple parties in this particular mechanism, right? And there is huge amount of paper happening in this particular transaction. If you see today, some of the ports in developing countries, they have a paper disposal units in the ports because that is the kind of papers what it originates. And there are so many participants. If you can see in this diagram, there are about 7 participants, important participants. There are traders, exporters, importers, then there is customs and regulators, then there is freight forwarders, then there are airlines or shipping lines or the carriers, then there are warehouses, then there are financial institutions for payment, then there is customs management systems. So many systems are there and everything is paper driven, right? And this is where there is a big paperless revolution happening, where it is ably backed by identity authentication, then timestamping is part of it, and more importantly, mutual recognition of data and document exchange, then data privacy and confidentiality. So entire thing is part of this particular transition to paperless. So all of this, why this is required, why paperless is required. So that is very important thing. If we don't do paperless in this particular mechanism, the cost of trade will increase because everywhere there is a paper movement, everything is physically dependent. The cost of entire trade will depend. And these are operational costs. It's not the cost of the good. The operational cost to make an import-export will substantially increase. Accordingly, the UN has estimated the GDP growth will be lower if it doesn't go paperless. Environmental impact can be significant. As I said, some ports have this paper disposal mechanism. That means that is the amount of waste what it generates due to this entire paper process. So what's been happening in this? You see, there are several bilateral and regional initiatives to deal with this, mainly on the cross-border transactions. So Europe is a very good example because that has been doing phenomenally over the last 8 years, which our co-speaker from Europe would be talking later during this day. So there is eIDAS implementation, there is a proper identity authentication and trust services implementation across the multiple countries. Then there is Eurasian Economic Union comprising of Central Asia and the European Union. So a lot of infrastructure over there. Then there is Pan-Asian E-commerce Alliance more for Asian region. Then similarly, there is African Alliance, which is doing for that particular region. So that's a lot of regional initiatives have been mainly concentrating on paperless transformation. In all these above initiatives, digital identity and digital signature play a very vital role in ensuring trustworthiness between parties and documents exchange across border. Because here, most of them are remote participants, right? So from the producer to trader, then to the shipper. So everyone is remote. And so that's why this identity and authentication plays a very, very important role in transforming this to paperless world. Some of these initiatives also focus on building capacity to interact in secure manner. That is where the single window and trade facilitation platform have been there. The key would be to see how to internationalize and enable interoperability so that multiple countries can facilitate seamless and global trade. So this is very important. Again, now, if you see the statistics, what is happening? This is one of the UN global survey what was conducted in 2019, this couple of years ago, on what is the regional adoption of paperless trade, right? So, if you see Asia Pacific is somewhere around 32% progress in the overall rating what they are. So, in this, the one good thing is if you see laws and regulation parameters, they had about I think 6 measures in this particular survey. When it comes to laws and regulation, it is more than 50%, but in all other points, 5 points, it is less than 50%. So those are including like the technology and electronic exchange, and then that is the country of origin. So these things are behind. But one good thing what we could see in this report is India is way ahead. So even though the Asia Pacific average is low, India is way ahead in this entire thing because we have been doing all this substantially. The survey also highlighted that the legal frameworks also may not be ready to support the legal recognition of electronic data or documents from other countries. So this is another gap what we have identified. The legal framework between the countries are not there, right? So that is what is stopping many of the trade to happen digitally. So this is another graph what is published in that report. If you see the blue one is actually the Asia Pacific line here. But if you see the North and East Asia, that is the bigger improved thing. North and Central, when I say it's more of China, Japan, Korea. So there, a lot of implementations have happened. So that way, this is the graph explaining this. So trust service providers plan very important in binding the trust deficit in cross-border trade. So that is very important. So this is where certifying authorities are coming as an important organization in the entire system. The gap generally noticed in the implementation of paperless trade are these three. So enabling the creation of legislative provisions for domestic or cross-border electronic data exchange with exceptions of electronic data with regulatory agencies. So this is the legislative provisions. Huge gap. Some country are ahead, some country are behind. So that's why there is a lot of gap. Implementation of regulation, policy, operational process, and e-signature technology to facilitate yeah, they are doing of such massive of the world. Curriculum which can bring trust service enabled. And the government has built a robust digital infrastructure supported by active technology ecosystem to penetrate all of them. So India has a very good regulation in place, lot of uniform interoperability among the domestic providers. Some countries, each provider does independent kind of certificate made for particular purpose. But in India, there is uniformity. Now there are maybe about 15 or 17 certification authorities. All are doing the common program. If one does a certificate, it can be used in any use case. Right? This is kind of ecosystem it has evolved. So thanks to CC office and the government in enabling this ecosystem. How it has been happening in India. So in India, if you see past 7 years, this has been going in scale, right? Multi-fold. Last time when I was discussing with Banati sir, he was also mentioning how exactly India is becoming an example. So this is the key layer, right? So if you see India stack as a basis, there is consent layer, cashless layer, UK is a massive example, paperless layer, digital signature, e-sign. It's a massive example, right? We I think we talked about 330 million, I think 33 crore recent transactions, more than the population of most of the countries, right? So then digital ID, we have a very strong digital ID layer, Aadhaar, which is again massive, 1.3 billion digital IDs. They're fundamentally available to enable the ecosystem. So trust service provider play a very important role in all these layers. If you see, everything is digital signature. And today, why Aadhaar is so much accepted? It is not because Aadhaar card is issued to the people. It is also because Aadhaar is available as a digitally signed PDF form. Aadhaar is available as a digitally signed XML, which can be used in any of the systems. So there is a ecosystem. Everywhere digital signature plays a very, very key role. You don't see it. It is behind the system. You do a UPI transaction. You do a bank NEFT transaction. Bank-to-bank authentication. There is digital signature behind. So everywhere the CA or trust service provider ecosystem is enabling all these layers. Now consent layer. So again, it is enabled by digital signature, e-signature, or there is the consent layer as well. So this you know it very well. I will not go in deep, but this is how it has been happening. So whenever there is a user needing to sign a document in India, there is ASP, there is e-sign service provider, then there is Aadhaar. So everyone in the flow, which makes like e-signature can be available within 3 seconds. Right? That is a massive revolution. Nowhere we have seen this because this is on the short-term key pair. It is not on a long-term key pair where they have to generate a key, store for a longer period, looking to revocation of it, security of it. So that mechanism is not at all required. It is a short-term key pair. Easily, any rural suburban population can adopt by their mobile or desktop. Lastly, highlighting mission mode projects in digital signature. This is another important thing where our government is supporting very well for this digital revolution to happen. This tech is of, particular chart is of a few years old, but if you see, there are more than 44 projects where government has earmarked for complete paperless transformation. Both B2C as well as C2G transaction is getting transformed to complete paperless. Some of the projects are 100% implemented. Some of the projects are like 50% paperless now. G2C is already paperless. It's only C2G where the transformation is still going. You see, whatever the use case government can think of a large scale, everything is covered in this particular. So what is the role of trust service providers? Role of trust service providers, as I said, it's a very important role. So it is to facilitate cross-border paperless trade. Trust service provider can play a very crucial role in bridging the mutual recognition, right? So because they are licensed by government under respective country under the Electronic Transaction or Information Technology Act, so there's a lot of assurance. Today, certifying authorities use very reliable verification and exchange of user verification because every vetting in India, if you see, everything is legally backed. If I say I have issued digital signature to Vijayakumar, that means he is alive, and who is claimed to Vijayakumar is really Vijay. So that is the kind of assurance which can be guaranteed in court of law. So this is what is the reliable verification what is provided. And also they operate an infrastructure to issue digital signature certificates which are legally recognized. Right today, it is not like something which I plugging in some cloud AWS. I bring on SEA. It is not like that. It is all secure ecosystem because even globally, if you see a lot of standards there, you have to set up proper infrastructure. There is a red line infrastructure which is audited every year. It is very secure, physically or logically accessed like that. So there is not a security protocol. It's very trusted infrastructure. Then today provide service as remote signing for seamless user experience as well. Because what happened, the availability of tokens become a challenge. There are a lot of complication in issuing a PFX because they are not globally recognized. So now remote taking a big stage. If you see, interesting example of mutual recognition is also e-passports, right? Today, every country is moving to e-passport. India is also, I think, in a few months, India will also roll out. What is e-passport? E-passport, again, it is enabled by PKI, right? So there is ICAO, which is ICAO, which will maintain the repository of the issuer CS in their particular central system. All immigration systems will be returned to ICAO. Every passport issuance, what we call in India called as regional passport office, are issued with the document signer certificate under that particular PKI. And this particular document signer certificate is trusted by ICAO. So any passport being issued by regional passport office, it has a chip in the passport which contains the user data, and as per the various assurance level of passport, there can be biometric data also in the passport. There can be face, there can be ping. Everything is digitally signed by this PKI platform, which is a document signer that will be used by the Agreement Passport Office, and that data is anywhere in the world, because ICAO is a global body. All the airports except ICAO, they have to follow ICAO standards. You use your biometric passport, e-passport, then you get a easier verification and easier entry. If you have entered in the lot of US people can enter without going into the human, right? Because they can do fingerprint verification because the passport has that data. It is digitally signed under this particular system. So there is no human verification required to prove that I am the one who am claiming right. Of trust services. So moving ahead on this PKI, so a couple of slides here. So what is happening in the world is it is moving ahead to verifiable claims. Verifiable claims is now I said passport, right? This is again a verifiable claim, digitally signed, enabled by PKI. Relying parties can easily verify. So this verifiable claim is a packet which includes like metadata, the claim being made, the proof, right? So driving license. Today in India, verifiable claims are already there in some or the other fashion. DigiLocker is a project which Europe is now planning to implement, right? So verifiable claim is nothing but if I say I am an 18-year-old person, it is digitally signed by an entity and that packet is available, right? So that is a claim what I do, and that is a claim available in a digitally signed form. So that is the verifiable claim infrastructure. So this is something what is happening around the world. There are smaller claims, there is larger claims, so everything can be becoming a derived credit. This is more an architecture how it is working, but in India this is already available in the form of digital similar structure. This is the verifiable credential infrastructure which is already happening in some of the countries. So in summary, what is that? So trust services will continue to play a crucial role in facilitating cross-border trade, but the following issues need to be tackled. So that is where we are talking in the forums like this. One is defining the right model, the cross certification or cross recognition or BridgeCE approaches. So these are the three popular approaches in the cross-border trade. Cross certification is I certify you, you certify me. That is cross certification. Cross recognition is like Pan-Asian Alliance, right? So I recognize these many CAs. Then there is BridgeCA. BridgeCA is I run a BridgeCA. Any participating CA can mutually get recognized in this. It's an advanced version of cross certification. These are the proven approaches. BridgeCA is popular in USA. Cross certification in some inter-country transactions. So establishing KYC baseline. This is another matter I was just discussing with our regulator office. So KYC baseline is a very important thing in cross-border trade because there is mapping equivalence between the identity vetting levels and the levels of assurance what each country is doing. Then third is technical interoperability. Again, the complying to certificate profile. In India, we have done it scale, but we have to work with similar profiles in other countries also. So what are the recognized profiles, the trust place? So these are the important. Last but not the least is legal recognition and dispute resolution mechanism. So this comes into liability. What kind of liability is there for impersonation or different kind of dispute? Then there is non-repudiation claims. So all these things will come under legal recognition and dispute resolution. So these are the gaps. I think there is more work to happen in this direction to move towards the cross-border trade. Okay, that's all from my side. Thank you.